Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me.
No affiliation, why they faking? This ain't for debating. We the real, they really imitation. I be contemplating why this ain't no like heavy rotation on radio stations. I just pray the Lord give me patience, cause I'm running through these rappers like my name Walter Payton. Shitting on these rappers, 9 to 5 is my occupation. Raw, you come in with your best troops, you best bring more. Already told you I got the juice like Orenthal. Already know what I'm about to do, bet your men fall. Everyone know that we got the truth, all your men false. So boss, overtaking our enemies. Moves calculated and orchestrated like symphonies. Smooth operated when bringing haters the misery. Top 5 list ain't shit unless you mention me. Yeah, that's why we don't associate. Fuck niggas make them more fuck niggas. Why they procreate? Why they overhate? Cause they time is short and a moment late. Let it culminate to they harder race and it palpitate. Cowards perpetrate like they little group is respectable. Talking intellectual, all of you homosexuals, faggots.
There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
I don't want to congregate. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to fellowship. I ain't trying to build with you. Ain't the UPK, ain't the truth. Keep it real with you. Defenders of the faith, I got no problem bumping heads with you. All that bullshit, you can take it over there with you. Rather be a houseboy. Rather run with them field niggas. Show them to put in work. Move mountain, crush hills, nigga. Take a dead soul. Breathe life and make it live, nigga. No affiliation, so it's no one to compare with us. Took the Lord's laws and just added it with fear, nigga. Aim for the body, cause you know like killing head quicker. With these bars, I'm on my grizzly, so bear witness. You spit cold, I spit flu. Don't compare sickness. You floss diamond, I floss fringes. Don't compare dentists. You PK, we men the wall shit. We ain't Christian. Harm one of us, get pistol whipped like the gun got a belt with it. I'm bred different. The competition just a mill. I'm fed different. I stood front line on them fields. I bled different. I'd rather be a corpse than a cow with a lead different. Shit, I'm led different. Come through like a juggernaut, so don't get in the way. And we take everything serious. We don't play. I wonder now what they gon' say. Shit, we make profits out of shooters like the NBA. You get slayed for switching sides, nigga. We ain't on the same page. Immaculate conception. Wow. These niggas bitch made. I'm sticking with the foundation where my bricks laid. You switch sides, I'd rather switch K's. You was never with us, nigga. Just know we won't miss you, nigga. Right hand hold the scriptures, nigga. Left hip hold the pistol, nigga. How you want it? You can get it spiritual or physics, nigga. Wrong ones to come against, so bring an army with you. No affiliation. When you see us, make the difference with us. No affiliation. When you see us, know we different, nigga. No affiliation. So no, you can't kick it with us. The wrong ones to come against, bring an army with you.
Shalom Israel, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under the commanding General Yahan. We have been bringing this truth since 1969. What is that truth? That truth is the so-called blacks and the so-called Hispanics, the so-called niggas, the true Jews of the Bible. And the white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Right now, we probably got a lot of people coming off of our Oppressors holiday, or still celebrating our Oppressor holiday, which is called Labor Day. A lot of us are celebrating this Labor Day along with our oppressor, not knowing what, where, or how this Labor Day or how this holiday began. This is not a holiday that we should be out celebrating. You know, Labor Day was actually a day to destroy our people. It's another holiday to destroy our people. Every holiday that our oppressor has is a day created to destroy our people. If you go back into the mid 1800s, and about 1865, when the so-called blacks were emancipated in the United States, we came through this emancipation. Remember, we built all of America. All of the labor, everything that was placed into America, it was built on our shoulders. It was built through our blood, sweat, and tears. You understand what I'm saying? And being so-called emancipated removed us from being private property of the slave owner into becoming property of the state. Well, when all of this happened and us being emancipated, they still needed things to be done in the United States. And when they so-called freed us, they began to try to go on as business as usual with the United States, not realizing that all the skilled labor jobs, all of the architect, all of the plumbing, all of the small electric work that was done that they had at that time, everything that was being done at that time was basically, they was finding out that it was a skilled labor job. It was, these jobs were dominated, probably about 85 to 90% after so-called African Americans. We were the ones building everything. So now, if you so-called emancipate or free your slaves and kick them out, and then all of a sudden you have to go on, all of a sudden you find out that those skilled jobs, you were not so skilled at. This is what the United States found out. And finding out that they were not so skilled at these jobs, what was happening was our oppressor was still hiring. Now they were hiring us in doing these jobs, and we were getting paid for these jobs. And now the oppressor who was trying to fill those shoes wasn't making the profit that he was making with us in doing the free labor. So what happened eventually, all in a nutshell, about 1868, 1869, they created what they call the labor unions. And when they created the labor unions, they moved the so-called African American out. So that what happens is now you had to first off, you had to be in the union to do these union jobs. And what you had to do was, you had to, being in the union, you had to be, when they started off, you had to be white to be in those unions. So this is how the labor union started. And the labor unions were made so that the African American would have to rely solely on his oppressor. We celebrate a day that was made to destroy us. And we're going to read an article about the labor union and how the labor union was started. You got that, brother?
Come. All right. Established in 1869, the National Labor Union, more commonly known as the Colored National Labor Union, was formed by African Americans to organize their labor collectively on a national level. The CNLU, like other labor unions in the United States, was created with the goal of improving the working conditions and quality of life for its members.
Was that last one that I sent you?
National Labor Union, NLU. William Salvis, president of the NLU, made a speech in which he agreed that there should be no distinction of race or nationality within the ranks of his organization.
And it says there should be no distinction between race or nationality, which you know is horribly incorrect. Race and nationality always counted when it came to the United States. You understand what I'm saying? The United States was built on racism, period. It was built on nationality. If you wasn't a European, then you were a slave in the United States. So-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, we slaved in the United States. You understand? Even though they write these laws to make it seem like they're being fair. You understand what I'm saying? And after slavery, they had to make, when they made these unions, they wanted to make it seem like everything was fair, everything was even Steven, but it was nothing of the sort. Go ahead, continue.
In 1869, several black delegates were invited to the annual meeting of the NLU. Among them, Isaac Mayers, a prominent organizer of African American laborers. At the convention, he spoke eloquently for solidarity, saying that white and black workers ought to organize together for higher wages and a comfortable standard of living.
Stop right there. It says he delegated for blacks and whites to get together to organize for higher wages and things like that. We know that that's the furthest thing from the truth. We've always been on the short end of the stick since this country has begun. Even to this day, we still are on the short end of the stick. Nothing is ever even Steven when it comes to our oppressor trying to make things seem like it's right. The Bible tells us that we should never, matter of fact, can you hold? Matter of fact, let's jump from that article and let's go to let's see, give me First Esdras, chapter 8, verse 85.
First Ezra.
First Ezra.
8 and 85?
Yeah, First Ezra in Apocalypse.
Oh.
Not Ezra, Esdras.
All right, First Ezra
Chapter 8, verse 85.
8 and 85. Come, First Ezra 8 and 85. Moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them.
Say that again.
Ye shall never seek to have peace with
The
them.
Bible tells us, moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them. That's a problem that we have been making since the beginning of time. We always seek to have peace with our oppressor. Every time we seek to have peace with our oppressor, we are always trodden on. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just like the Native Indians. When Native Indians tried to make peace with the oppressor, you understand what I'm saying? They wrote, what was that, over 177 peace treaties with the oppressor. They wrote up all of this stuff trying to be peaceful with the oppressor. And the oppressor turns around and stabs them in the back, destroyed the Native Indians, took their land and everything and put them on reservations. It tells us, moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace. We've been doing that since the 60s. Martin Luther King was seeking to have peace with the oppressor. And what happened to Martin Luther King? Martin Luther King was destroyed by his oppressor. And now they put up great monuments to Martin Luther King. Why did they put up great monuments to Martin Luther King? Because Martin Luther King delivered us right into the hands of our oppressor. Think about Malcolm X. Malcolm X was on one side in the beginning, and then turned around. He went to Mecca and saw Europeans in Mecca. And then all of a sudden, he had a change of heart about the European. When it also tells you that the European is wicked from the womb, right? The European is wicked from the womb. And it changed Malcolm X's thinking. You understand? And now all of a sudden, he began to allow his oppressor into his organization. And allowing the oppressor into your organization, you allow the oppressor to destroy you, which is what happened to Malcolm X. Malcolm X looked at the oppressor over in Mecca. Think about this, right? If you go into the oppressor's house, the oppressor controls you because you have your whole family in your house. If one oppressor comes into your house, the oppressor has to be right because now you have your whole family. Well, that's what Malcolm X saw. He saw one oppressor, and I'm not saying one white person, but the number of colored people, and I'm not saying that it was a lot of Negroes over there, but the color to oppressor percentage was greatly vast and high, against the oppressor. So the oppressor has to be cordial. And that's where Malcolm X lost at, because he got fooled by the oppressor. When you come back over here, when the oppressor has great numbers, there is no change in the oppressor. Islam cannot change the oppressor. The only thing that can change the oppressor is us following the law, statutes, and commandments. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot, it says, moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them. Go ahead.
That ye may be strong and eat the good things of the land.
It says that ye may be strong. What does that mean, that ye may be strong? If you have your own land, if you have your own industries, if you have your own stores, if you're taking care of your people, then ye may be strong. You cannot be strong. We cannot be strong depending on the oppressor. Welfare cannot make us strong. Public housing cannot make us strong. You understand? Food stamps cannot make us strong. The only thing these things can do for us is make us dependent. This is what integration does to us. This is why we are a destroyed people. We are a destroyed people because we want to seek to have peace with our oppressor. There is no seeking or having peace with your oppressor. The oppressor is an oppressor for a reason. This is the job of the oppressor. This is what they do. Understand what I'm saying? Go ahead.
And that ye may leave the inheritance of the land until your children forevermore.
Now, it's supposed to be, when you have your own industries, when you have your own stores, when you have your own schools, when you have your own land, you are able to leave an inheritance to your children forevermore. As your family grows, those things are handed down from generation to generation. We can't hand anything down from generation to generation because we are on the oppressor's land. We are under the oppressor's jurisdiction. We are under the oppressor's laws. There is no handing anything down. There is no being strong. There is no leaving an inheritance to our children because we own nothing. You don't hand food stamps down. You don't hand public housing down. You understand what I'm saying? You don't hand the welfare down from generation to generation.
That's right.
This is why we are a destroyed people. You understand what I'm saying? We are a destroyed people because we don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason why we get out there on those streets. The Isupk gets out there on the streets under command of General Yohana, and we speak to our people. We're trying to open the eyes and the ears of our people and bring them back to the Most High. This is the only way. Zephaniah 2:1 says what? Gather yourselves together. Yes, gather yourself together, O nation not desired. The first thing it says is to gather yourselves together. But more than that, we have to understand that we are a nation not desired. We keep thinking that the oppressor will love us, that the oppressor will respect us if we just keep forcing our love and forcing our love and forcing ourselves on them. There is no forcing love and changing the heart of the oppressor. You cannot change the heart of an oppressor. It just doesn't happen. And in speaking on changing the heart of the oppressor, give me Ecclesiastes 7 and 13. Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 13. Consider the work of the Most High.
It says, consider the work of the Most High. Think about this. Think about how the Most High made the trees to give off oxygen. It made us to breathe in oxygen. He made us to breathe out CO2 and made the trees to breathe in CO2. It's a give and a take thing. You understand what I'm saying? Consider the things that the Most High has done. When the sun comes out, it's day. When the moon comes out, it's night. Consider the work of God. Who can hang the stars in the air like they do? Who could place a layer of oxygen around the earth so that we could survive? Consider the work of God. Who could separate the land from the water? Consider the work of God. That's the things that we don't do. We don't consider the work of God because we too busy considering the work of our oppressor, which is not even the work of our oppressor. It's the work of God. Everything that he does, everything that our oppressor does, he has stolen from us, given to us from the Most High. He stole the land that he's on. Stole the music industry. He stole all the fashions of us. You understand what I'm saying? Consider the work of God. Go ahead.
For who can make that straight which he have made crooked?
For who can make that straight which he hath made crooked? Think about what it's saying. The Most High made the oppressor the way he made him. He made him a wicked person. He made him the very way he made him. He made him to have a perpetual hatred for us. But we keep trying to change him. We keep trying to make the thing that the Most High made crooked, we're trying to make straight. We're trying to force ourselves on a people that do not love us, a people that does not have our best interest at heart. You understand what I'm saying? We keep doing the very things that forces us further and further and further away from the Most High. This is the reason why we are a destroyed people. We keep forcing our love on the oppressor, but then because we force so much love on the oppressor, we force hate on our own people. We take the love that we should be giving to our people and we give it to the oppressor, so much so that we have no more love left over to give our people. You understand what I'm saying? This is why we are a destroyed people. Because we lack what the Most High has given us to follow, and that's the law, statutes, and commandments. We lack the understanding, and because we lack the understanding, this is the reason why we are a destroyed people. Let's grab Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6.
Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of
It
knowledge.
says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is not being able to read the stars, the moons, and the sun. Right? Knowledge is not being able to put a car together. You understand? Knowledge is not being able to break down algebra or not being able to write or draw things on the walls in Egypt or to read the Meta Nature. That's not knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? What is knowledge? Knowledge is the laws, statutes, and commandments. If we followed the laws, statutes, and commandments, we wouldn't be the tale of every story. We wouldn't be the ending, the butt of every joke. You understand what I'm saying? If we followed the law, statutes, and commandments, we'd be the head. Our oppressor would be the tail. But we choose to force ourselves upon our oppressor. Look at Martin Luther King and those sit-ins. All of those sit-ins, all of that people beating your head and throwing food at you, spitting on you, kicking on you so you can eat at a lunch counter when your own lunch counters are right on the opposite side of the street. You forcing somebody to take your money only to have your own businesses go out of business, only to have our own lunch counters shut down, only to have our own schools taken over by white proprietors, only to lose all of our businesses, all of our industries that we have. That's what happens when you force yourself upon the oppressor, when you take your love from your people, when you don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Go ahead, read.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge.
It says, because thou rejected the Most High. We put all of our faith in the oppressor and not the Most High. We have rejected him. And when you reject the Most High, you automatically accept your oppressor. Our oppressor is our enemy. The Most High is our Father. The oppressor is our enemy. Once you reject your Father, you automatically take the side of your enemy. That's just what do they call it? That's just the laws of physics. You understand what I'm saying? If there is no straddling the fence. You're either on this side or you're on that side. You're either good or you're bad. It's no straddling the fence, no in the middle. You can't love two. What do they say? You can't love two masters. You can't love Mammon and God. You can't have two masters. You understand what I'm saying? You're gonna love one and hate the other. You're gonna love the other and hate the one. You understand? That's just all to it. Go ahead.
Come. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy most high power. I will also forget thy children.
Most High basically saying, you forget me and I'll forget you. Not that he'll forget you, but he'll let you waddle in your stupidity. You understand? When you choose evil, he'll let you suffer under evil. And because we choose our oppressor, this is the reason why we're suffering under our oppressor. You understand? We don't understand. This is the thing. We don't understand our oppressor. A lot of us don't understand our oppressor. We think everything is even. Everybody has the same love for everybody, but that's far from the truth. Our oppressor does not love us. The Bible tells us that. You understand what I'm saying? But we continue to force ourselves upon a person that the more you force yourself on him, the more he's going to hate you.
Come.
You understand?
Come.
If you don't force yourself on him, he's going to continue to hate you anyway. So what's our solution to a person like that? Our solution to a person like that is separating ourselves. But because we don't understand who our oppressor is, we continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. What does it say? It says the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. That is insane. That is crazy. That is stupidity. But this is what we do. And this is why we continue to be destroyed in the streets. You understand? This is the reason why we're being shot dead in the streets. This is the reason why right now they said what they have a potential of about 20 million people being homeless if this stimulus package doesn't go through. Who do you think the homeless people are going to be? It's going to be our people. We're going to be the homeless. We're going to be the ones out in the street. They're forcing kids to go back to school in the middle of a pandemic. Why are they forcing people to go back to school in the middle of a pandemic? Because there is a potential for our children to bring that disease back home to us and we be mainly destroyed. Listen, we understand that white people are dying from it too, but to our oppressor, there is casualties of war, and he's willing to take casualties of war to destroy us as a nation. You understand what I'm saying? He's willing to take that chance of losing a few of his to destroy us as a nation. You understand what I'm saying? Let's go to Ezekiel 35:5. Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 5.
Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred.
This is because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. What is a perpetual hatred? What's perpetual hatred? Perpetual hatred is an ongoing, never-ending hatred for a person or people or a nation of people as we are to our oppressor. Our oppressor has a perpetual hatred for us. Now, if the Bible is telling you that the oppressor has a perpetual hatred for us, that means that his thoughts for us are never going to change. His hate for us is never going to turn into love. That's just a fact. It says he has a perpetual, that's an ongoing forever hatred. So why, if it tells us this in the Bible, why do we continue to try to seek peace and have love with the very people that have a perpetual hatred for us? Why do we do that? Because we do that because of a lack of knowledge. We read that earlier. We have a lack of knowledge, and because we don't understand the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, we keep walking up against bumping our heads up against a hard-ass wall. We basically are destroying ourselves. Right now, this hell that we're going through should be over. This hell should be over. You understand? We should be running this nation right now. If we would only come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, we'd be the head and they'd be the tail. They'd be following us. They'd be by our rule. But because we have a lack of knowledge and we don't understand the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, this is the reason why we're being destroyed the way we are. You know? Lack of knowledge. This is what happens to us. Go ahead.
And has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity.
It says, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. Listen, in the time of our calamity, in the time that we are at peace with our oppressor. We have come away from being evil. I mean evil, but in the time of our calamity, in the time that we are mostly down, mostly destroyed, at the time that we are down, we are it's like kicking the dude when he's down. You understand what I'm saying? They destroy us in the time of our calamity, in the time of our worst time when we are down. We're being destroyed. The oppressor doesn't care what time it is. He's going to be an oppressor and he's going to destroy us. This is the reason why you see people with their hands up, not trying to be aggressive or combative, and still are being destroyed in the streets. We still being destroyed. We still losing. You understand? We losing because we're not following what the Most High tells us. Understand? Go ahead.
In the time that their iniquity had an end.
In the time that their iniquity had an end, like you said, at the time where you're not even doing anything. You're not even up against the law. You're not even doing anything, against the law, and you still being destroyed. This is that perpetual hatred that he has for us. And because we don't follow, because we have that lack of knowledge, this is the reason why we're being destroyed. Can we go back to that article?
Sure.
Go ahead. You know where you was at?
Sure. All right. Prominent organizer of African American laborers. We was at in 1869. Several black delegates were invited to the annual meeting of the NLU. Among them, Isaac Mayers, a prominent organizer of African American laborers. At the convention, he spoke eloquently for solidarity, saying that white and black workers ought to organize together for higher wages and a comfortable standard of living. However, the white unions refused to allow African Americans to join their ranks.
Let me ask you a question. Stop right there. Let me ask you, what does that sound like? That sounds like Martin Luther King trying to go to his white counterpart to beg for equal rights. You understand? And the white man tell him, we ain't giving you nothing. And then you go have all of those sittings. You understand? This is the reason why we shouldn't have preachers, so-called preachers and pastors speaking for us, so-called politicians standing up, speaking for us on our behalf. These prominent people speak for us on our behalf, but only for their own benefit. You understand? Because at the end of the day, what do they always say? They always say these things, oh, it worked out. It worked out. Just like Martin Luther King in the March on Washington, you know, and that march that they had, they always say, well, they marched on Washington, everything worked out. Everything never worked out because we're still marching for the same stupid things. But guess who it worked out for? It worked out for Martin Luther King, John Lewis, and all those other big six that went in there with him that they gave $1.5 million to. You understand what I'm saying? It worked out for them. You understand? These are the things that we need to watch out for because a lot of people that want to speak for us don't speak for us for our interest. They speak for their own interest. You understand? And we can actually go to First Maccabees, chapter 1.
You want to finish up the story?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, let's finish up the story before we go to that. Go ahead.
Come on. Mayors met with other African American laborers to form a national labor organization of their own. In 1869, the National Labor Union, often referred to as the Colored National Labor Union, was formed with mayors as its first president.
See that? What does that sound like? Think about it. It's a smaller version, but it's just like the NAACP. These labor unions still, in this day, has not done a thing for black people. Black people still come in at the lowest wages. We the first fired, the last hired, and everything else in between. We lose out in every aspect, but those politicians, preachers, and pastors, and people like that speak up for us, they always are the ones that make out. They make it seem like all of these things that they started, this black national union, labor union thing, was a great thing when it never was a great thing. We still don't have, think about it. Even in a labor union, you're still working for your oppressor. And for the labor union leader to make a deal for you, he's got to make a deal for himself to make sure that he's set. And you get to still get the low end of the stick. What does that sound like? The NAACP? Sounds like Black Lives Matter. Sounds like all of these black stupid movements that has never worked out for black people. We go through the same things over and over and over and over again, and we still come out with the same results. When are we going to figure out that all we have to do is come back to the law, statutes, and commandments? It says what does it say? We are the 10th richest nation on the face of this earth, but we don't own the thing. We spend so much money. We are worth, about $1.8 trillion as a nation. That makes us the 10th richest nation on the face of the earth, but we don't own the thing. How can you be a rich nation and not own the thing? You understand what I'm saying? How can you be a rich nation and not own the thing? The only way you can do that is by not following the law, statutes, and commandments. You understand what I'm saying? The only way we can do that is by not following the law, statutes, and commandments. We come back to these law, statutes, and commandments, get up under the commanding general, your honor, put our resources into our own people, build our own industries, build our own water systems, build our own electric companies, build our own schools, build our own supermarkets and things like that, and be a community to our own people. We are the only people on the face of the earth that has to go out and say, buy black, buy black. You never hear the Chinese say, buy Chinese, or the Arabs say, buy Arab, or the East Indians say, buy East Indian. None of those nations have to say that because it's automatically in them. They automatically stay to their own people. They automatically stay separated. We are the only people who want to integrate into other nations. And because we want to integrate into other nations, we become the nations that we integrate into. Because we want to be a part of the white man's world, we integrate and become the white man. When you become the white man, you look out for him. When you become the oppressor, you look out for the oppressor. You don't look out for your people. Think about it. How can you be a city like Baltimore? How can you have a black mayor, black commissioner, black city councilman, black attorneys, district attorneys, black prosecutors, and still have the highest incarceration rate in the city of Baltimore? How can you do that? Because our leaders have integrated into our oppressor. And because they've integrated into our oppressor, they work for the oppressor and they work against us. That's the only way it works. That's the reason why we sit and we look. That's the reason why Chicago looks the way it looks. That's the reason why DC looks the way it looks. That's the reason why Philly looks the way it looks. That's the reason why Compton looks the way it looks. That's the reason why every major urban city looks the way it looks. When you integrate into anything, you become the thing you integrate into. That's the way it works. This is the reason why we are destroyed people. We are destroyed people for a lack of knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is the law, statutes, and commandments. This book tells us everything that we have to do. This book gives us a dietary law. This book tells us how to operate amongst our oppressor. This book tells us how to operate amongst our own people. It tells us how to treat our own people. You understand? It tells us what to do and what not to do. If we follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, we be back on top. But because we don't, that's the reason why we're in the condition that we're in. It's the reason why we continue to march and march and march and protest and protest and protest and still come out with the same results. This is the reason why we go through the things that we go through. Nothing is going to change if we don't gather ourselves together. O nation not desired. Like I said before, he tells you to gather yourself together, but more importantly, he lets you understand, the Most High lets us understand or tells us that we are a nation that is not desired. Other nations don't desire other nations, but other nations are not being taken advantage of like we are. We are the only nation on the face of this planet that every nation on the face of this earth has had in captivity. And listen, as a matter of fact, just about every nation on this earth is taking advantage of us right now. Everybody is in our neighborhood taking our money out of our neighborhoods and back to their neighborhoods. I don't know a Korean that catches a plane from Korea every day, opens up his stores and flies back to Korea every night. They are right here, but you don't know where any Korean neighborhoods are. You don't know where any East Indian neighborhoods are. But they come in and take that money from out of our neighborhoods and take it back to their neighborhoods. That's what we should be doing. 10th richest nation on the earth, and we don't have anything to show for it but welfare and public housing. That's it. You understand what I'm saying? So let's go back to was that will we finish that article?
No.
Okay, let's go back to First Maccabees. chapter 1, verse 11.
Come. Let me get that for you.
And this scripture right here goes back to the article that we read, and it also refers to like what Martin Luther King was doing all the way through that civil rights movement. You understand what I'm saying? This goes back to the way they started the black labor unions, how they couldn't get into the black labor unions, so they started their own labor unions. How they couldn't get into the white labor unions, so they started their own labor unions. Go ahead.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men. Think about what it's saying now. It says, in those days went there out of Israel. That means these were Israelites. Went there out of Israel wicked men. These were wicked men within Israel. Go ahead.
Who persuaded many, saying,
Go ahead.
let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are around about us.
It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many. What do? They persuade you to vote. They persuade you to celebrate Christmas. They persuade you to celebrate Labor Day. All of the very things that goes against what the Most High tells us to do. It says, in those days went there out of Israel. These were Israelite wicked men who persuaded many. Who persuades many? Everybody thinks voting helps us. Most of African Americans think that voting helps. Year after year after year after year of all of this voting. We've been voting unobstructed since 1965. We got voting rights back in, I want to say, 1925. I'm going to say 1925. But it's been unobstructed since 1960. Go ahead.
Question. Walter Hudson. If Trump is reelected, what do you think he'll feel emboldened to do? He's already named 200 judges to lifetime appointments that think the 1950s was too liberal. Also says,
Hold up. Read that question again.
It's kind of emotional and it's kind of all over the place. He says, if Trump is reelected, what do you think he'll feel emboldened to do?
Listen, if Trump is reelected, he's going to do the same thing anybody who is elected is going to do. He is going to oppress us just like usual. This is business as usual. The only thing Trump is showing you is how they really feel. Everybody, what's that, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, Nixon, they all did the same thing. They all destroyed us. Nothing is changing. Listen, the only thing that looks different is all of the killings that we're seeing now, because now there's video to show it. All of those same things were happening way back then. Only thing is we wasn't seeing what was happening all over the country like we're seeing now. This is business as usual. If Trump gets elected or if Biden gets elected, we still gonna be a destroyed people because we following right behind them. The Most High told us, we just said the scripture, Zephaniah 2:1 says, gather yourself together, gather yourself together, O nation I desire. If you know people hate you, why do you continue to go around them? The Most High tells us to separate ourselves from them. If Trump gets elected, what's going to happen? The same thing that happens every year to us. we are going to be trodden upon. It's going to be no different. If Biden gets elected, what's going to happen? We are going to be trodden upon. He showed too many videos of Biden saying he doesn't like black people, in a nutshell. You understand? So what's going to happen? Just what's been happening. Ain't nothing going to change.
It's another part of the question, Salakia.
Go ahead.
Why do you hate your ancestors who put everything on the line so that we could exercise the right to vote?
Let me ask you a question, right? Let me ask you a question. There's a drug dealer selling drugs that gets killed on the street. Does that make selling drugs right? Does a person who steals something out of the store and gets shot and killed for stealing that thing out of the store, does that make it right? Let me ask a question. We've been voting since 1965 and nothing has changed. Let me ask you a question. All of that voting that we did and nothing has changed, does that make voting right? Does it make it right? We always say our ancestors fought for the right to vote. Just because you fight for something doesn't mean that it's right. Just because you die for something doesn't mean it's right, doesn't make it right. What has voting got us since 1965? So if voting got us nothing since 1965, does it make it right? Can't. Separating yourself. People don't die separating from their oppressor. You forcing yourself into somebody's store only for them to beat you half to death. Does that make forcing yourself into somebody's store, does that make it right? When you have your own store, that's stupidity. If a person doesn't like you, would you force yourself into your enemy's house? Basically, voting, you're forcing yourself into your enemy's house. Why would you force yourself into your enemy's house? Only for your enemy to take advantage of you. Just because people die for something doesn't make it right. Any more on that?
There's the last part of the whole rant. We sat at home in mass numbers in 2014 and 2016 and allowed Trump Putin to bring white nationalists into the White House. All white people are not evil by any means, but there is nothing more dangerous than white people when they are frightened.
Let me ask a question. He said all white people are not evil or mean, right? In the Bible it tells us they are wicked from the womb. What does that mean? Your oppressor is wicked from the womb. Listen, think about this. If the Marines come in and they break the lines and they bust in and they destroy everything, and then the Air Force comes in and doesn't have to do a thing, does that mean the Air Force isn't evil? Just because of people don't have to fight because somebody else already destroyed you does not mean that they are not evil. The thing is, with the white people who you think are not evil, they are still benefiting off the blood, sweat, and tears of our people. Why would you? I'd be happy too if somebody went in and destroyed everybody in a place and then gave me some of the spoils. I'd be happy too. I'd be nice to the people we just destroyed. If I didn't have to raise a finger, I'd be happy and I'd be nice too. Because I know that if you get upset with me, then the very people who destroyed you the first time is going to come back and destroy you again. The Bible tells you that they are wicked from the womb. That's all to it. There is no good white people. If there were any good white people, let me ask you a question. Did they come and give you all of their money from you being destroyed? Are they out there speaking up for you and putting together a GoFundMe to make sure that you got everything that you want? Are they building up a GoFundMe so that your child can go to college for free? Hell no. Our oppressor is wicked from the womb. Is there anything else on that?
That was it.
Okay. Where was we at? We were still on Maccabees, right?
Come. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
It says, since we have departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Every time we seem like we moving away from them, they always have a reason to bring us back to the oppressor. We need to stick with the oppressor. We got to do this. We need the oppressor. And this is our leaders. This is where our leaders have failed us. This is where we have been destroyed as our leaders. Our leaders keep convincing us that we need to be with the oppressor. If we separate ourselves from them, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to eat? Where are we going to work? What are we going to do? And this is the reason why the children of Israel, when they went into the wilderness, after they had left Egypt, this is the same reason why you had some of the children of Israel saying that we need to go back to Egypt, where we knew where we was going to be at, where we knew where we was going to eat at, but we knew instead of putting your own things together, instead of starting and building your own nation, we'd rather go back and be under the foot of our oppressor. It's the same thing. We are a destroyed people because we have our leaders, our so-called leaders, are leading us astray back into the hands of the oppressor for their own gain. What was the dude's name in Egypt that wanted to go back, that wanted to stay in Egypt? Remember when they was forcing him out? Robert, what was his name? Edward G. Robinson played the part in what's the one with Charles
Heston.
Charleston Heston. He played the Israelite dad. He was always up under. He was with Egypt, and then Egypt had forced him out with. He wanted
Moses.
No, not Moses. I'm talking about Edward G. Robinson played the part, but he was always selling Israel out to keep them under Egypt's foot. He was an Israelite, but he was like a sellout Israelite. I forgot the dude's name. I heard Commanding General Yohana and General Mahine say his name. It's in the Bible. His name's in the Bible, but Edward G. Robinson played the part. But this is what our leaders do to us. They continue to sell us out and keep us under the foot of the oppressor. They continue to sell us out, only for their own gain, because they sit at the top, just like I said before, when you have black city councilmen, when you have black mayors, I mean, think about this. Catherine Pugh was the mayor, right? She built $1 million homes in an area that only had $200,000 to $300,000 houses in it, right? She's talking about how the streets of Baltimore smell and how it stinks out here and everything like this and everything like that. She's steadily just delivering us into the hands of our oppressor. You understand? Because she's getting monetary gain. And then as soon as she got above herself, what did they do? They brought her ass. They brought her down. You understand what I'm saying? They brought her down. And it's the same thing in the Exodus. You understand? Eventually, you're gonna be brought down by your oppressor. What you got?
Precept from Exodus 16:2.
Go ahead.
And read to you. Exodus 16:2. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger.
Exactly. And they said we would rather be back in Egypt than to die in the wilderness. You understand what I'm saying? I had the if you read down to what is that? What verse was that you just read?
That was 3.
If you read that, look at 5, verse 5. What did verse 5 say? It's not 5 or 6.
Let me read
Because
that.
5 or 6 say the same thing, but it goes into it. It talks about how, we'd be better off in Egypt than out here. You understand what I'm saying? I had that precept in there too. That wasn't it. Okay, one of those I had that in there, but it was a precept that went a little bit more into it, talking about, we'd be better off in Egypt than out here. I thought it was right after that, or two verses down. I left a little book at home. But anyway, it's the same thing. And this is our so-called leaders. They lead us astray. You understand? It's like the blind leading the blind. The only thing is see, they living out their small piece of heaven right now, not realizing that they only destroying themselves and the nation. You understand? Because that gift destroyeth the heart. You understand? They'd rather get that gift that destroyeth the heart and destroy the nation, as opposed to sacrificing and building the whole nation up together. You understand what I'm saying? So now, we finished that, right? That was the end of that. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 37.
Is that 8 and 37?
Yeah, chapter 28, verse 37.
28 and 37. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 37. And thou hast become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
It says, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. Think about what it's saying. It says, thou hast become an astonishment. And other nations look at us in astonishment, like, what is wrong with these people? When you stand up and you got to say, am I not a man? The other nations look at you in an astonishment as a proverb and a byword. When you have to say, Black Lives Matter, they look at us in an astonishment. You understand? When you have to say, hands up, don't shoot. You understand what I'm saying? That's an astonishment to the other nations. The other nations are like, what's wrong with these people? You understand what I'm saying? Think about it, right? You don't see police shooting or killing Koreans. You don't see them shooting or killing Brazilians. You don't see them shooting or killing Chinese. You don't see them. Think about this now. This is even heavier. You don't even see them killing or shooting Africans. Some people with almost the same hue as you. You are an astonishment. Why are you an astonishment? Because every nation knows all you have to do is separate yourself from the people that hate you. Think about this. 9/11, those towers collapsed and fell. You understand what I'm saying? They put everything on the Arab. But they still had those Arab shots. They didn't shut down a single Arab shot. The Korean War, they still had the Koreans over here making money. You understand? They in it with China right now, and the Chinese own damn near every corner store in our neighborhood. Because the Chinese know how to separate themselves from an evildoer. The Koreans know how to separate themselves from an evildoer. The Arabs know how to separate themselves from an evildoer. We are the only people that want to be at peace with our oppressor. Every other nation knows who the enemy is. We are the only nation who doesn't know who the enemy is. We look at each other as we are enemies to our own people. And we are far from being the enemy to our own people. This is the reason why we are the only people on the face of this earth being destroyed the way we are. Yes, other nations fight and kill their own people, but we are being killed by an enemy who sits right here in our face. We know who our enemy is. And we continue to let our enemy destroy us. We continue to want to make peace with our enemy. You understand? We are the only people who don't know our nationality. We are the only people who don't know our heritage. And because we don't know our nationality and we don't know our heritage, we want to be in everybody's nationality and everybody's heritage. We want to be Christian. We want to be Muslim. We want to be Buddhist. We want to be Egyptologists. We want to be everything but who the Most High made us out to be. We want to be everything but Israel. We even want to give our nationality to a European that is not us. We look at the so-called Jewish man and respect him as being a Jewish man, knowing that he's not really Jew. He's not Jew at all. But we give away all of our things to be a part of something that we are not. You understand what I'm saying? Let's get, was we finished that scripture?
Okay.
It says, among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead us. You understand? We are destroyed among every nation comes in and destroys us. Every nation comes in and takes a foothold over us. Every nation comes in and takes advantage of us. And it seems as though there's nothing that we can do. And again, here we go. The Most High says in Zephaniah 2:1, gather yourselves together, gather yourselves together, and you should not divide. If we just come together, think about it. You can come together, but not be together. When the Most High says gather yourselves together, he wants us to gather ourselves together and be on one accord. That's what gathering yourself together means when the Most High tells you to gather yourself together. We have to gather ourselves together and come on one accord. Every time you turn around, you always ask black people, well, what do we got to do to get out? What we got to do? Well, we got to put our resources together and put our resources together and get our own. And you look at black people like, what are your resources? How are you going to get people to get their resources together? That's the only solution that these people outside of the UPK can give. Put our resources together. I've heard that so many times from so many people, and I ain't seen it happen yet. Only up under the commanding general, Your Honor. This is the place where we making moves at. We putting our resources together, and we building a nation. I have never seen an Egyptologist nation that didn't fail. I have never seen an Islamic nation that didn't fail. I have never seen a Christian nation that didn't fail. Christianity has failed black people from the beginning. Islam has failed black people from the beginning. Buddhism never worked out for people. Egyptology never worked out for people. What has Egyptology done for our people? What has Islam done? And what has Christianity done? It has done nothing but destroyed our people. We got to come back up under the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And we got to gather ourselves together under one accord, under the command of General John. That's how you make moves. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you build a nation. That's the only way a nation can be built. You understand? You all right, bro?
Sure.
That's the only way a nation can be built. You know? So let's go to Job chapter 36, verse 15.
God. The book of Job, chapter 36 and verse 16. Even so would he have removed thee out of the strait into a broad place.
Verse 15.
Come. The book of Job, chapter 36 and verse 15. He delivereth the poor in his affliction and openeth their ears in oppression.
It says he delivered the poor in his affliction and openeth the ears in oppression. Think about it, right? Who is he speaking of? It says he delivered the poor in his affliction and openeth their ears in oppression. Who is he speaking about? He's speaking about the Isupk. He delivered us, the poor, in our affliction. That's how we ended up in here. You know, he opened up their ears in oppression. We were all being oppressed when we heard this word.
That's right.
We were in our affliction when we heard this word.
That's right.
Our ears were open when we heard this word.
Damn right.
And we came in here and we rose above. We rose above because of the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. We rose above following the law, statutes, and commandments under the Most High, under Commanding General Yahan. You understand what I'm saying? This is the place where you can be delivered in your affliction. This is the place where you can be delivered from oppression after when your ears are open. You all right? You good?
Good, we good.
Oh, okay. I feel something wrong.
No.
You know, our ears were open in our oppression. We were going through the same things everybody else was going through when we came into this truth. Our lives were changed after we came into this truth. You understand? Our lives were changed when we came into this truth. I'm not saying that things don't happen to us, but life is a hell of a lot easier when you understand who your oppressor is. Life is a whole hell of a lot easier when you understand the people who are destroying you. You understand? Life is a whole lot easier when you know how to navigate through the oppressor's bullshit. Basically. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like we don't go through things, but it makes it a whole hell of a lot easier. And the more of us that come in, the easier it gets. Like we said earlier, we are the 10th richest nation on the face of this earth. We have $1.8 trillion in purchasing power, and it goes out the door to all the other nations.
Good.
So imagine if we came up under the commanding General Yohana in this truth. Most High in Christ. Think about it. Think about it. We have our own schools. We have our own daycare. We have our own supermarkets. We have our own water industry. Everything that we need, we have our own. And it's coming. It's coming because more and more people are coming into this truth every day. More and more people coming into this truth every day. And the more people that come into this truth, the bigger the nation gets, the stronger that we get. This is the beginning of a nation right here. You are watching the beginning of a nation right here. You know? Listen, check this out. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. Think about it, right? We're going to go into Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Listen, the only way that the righteous can be in authority is if we come back to this truth. We are the righteous. When you follow the law, statutes, and commandments, you are the righteous. It says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Think about it. We're mourning right now. Every time you turn on the news, you see a mother crying because her son got killed, got murdered. You see women going crazy because their children are getting locked up. Petty charges. They giving you 30 and 40 years over petty charges. They throwing you in jail for things that you didn't do. 32 years, 35 years later, they're releasing you saying, oh, my mistake. Give you a little bull job, $2 million. That can never make up for 35 years of your life. You understand what I'm saying? They are slowly destroying us because we don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments. It says when the righteous are in authority, all of those things would stop. We got over 2 million brothers in jail today. Over 2 million brothers in jail today. Because why? Because the wicked beareth rule. We always want to mourn when the big wicked beareth rule. You got over 300,000 abortions every year. Over 300,000 abortions every year because the wicked beareth rule. 330? 30,000? 30,000?
Let me look it up for you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Pretty sure it's 30. 300 is like 250,000.
Yeah, but that's what it said.
That's what it say?
300,000.
Okay, go ahead. Shalaki, I was wrong. Go ahead. If that's what it say, that's what it say.
300,000 abortions a year.
Oh, okay.
That's all over the nation.
Oh, okay, I
That's
got
all
you.
over the nation, yeah.
Come, go
They
ahead.
got over 300,000 abortions every year.
Come, Shalaki, go ahead.
Yeah, so we are destroyed people. And I mean, think about it, right? The reason why we having all of these abortions because of what? Because what's the number one reason that we have those abortions? Because our people, when we have those abortions, we think that we can't afford these children. That's the only reason we have these abortions. And I'm not saying 100% of them are that, because you got some wicked women out here who just want to have fun and they have an abortion. But for the most part, the most of those abortions are because our women and our brothers think we can't afford those children. You understand what I'm saying? We think we can't afford them. When we live in a what do they call it? We living under our oppressor. When you live under your oppressor, you live by your oppressor's rules. And when you live by your oppressor's rules, your oppressor gets to give you what he wants to give you. You understand what I'm saying? And what's that? In the 70s, they told us if you were a struggling family in the 70s, if the woman came to get assistance, the man couldn't be in the house. That's the destruction of the family right there. So once you kick the man out, what happens? The man has to find a place to live. So if he was making any kind of money, what does he have to do? He has to take care of himself where he's at. And if he has anything left over, it's probably not enough to help the woman live. So she has to get assistance. And in getting assistance, now what do they tell her she has to do? She has to put him on child support. This is what happens when we live under our oppressor. It says, listen, but when the wicked beareth the rule, the people mourn. When you break up a family like that, that family mourns. Because they have to make decisions, otherwise they would never make. You understand what I'm saying? They making decisions that otherwise they would never have to make. When the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. We are in mourning right now because We are under our oppressor. The wicked is bearing rule. You understand? At the top of that it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. That day is coming when Christ will return and he is going to destroy our enemy. That is the definition of being saved. When people talk about, are you saved? You have to ask them, are they saved? And if they say, they are saved, then you ask them, well, what are you saved from? You understand what I'm saying? You have to ask the people, everybody thinks they are saved. We are not saved until Christ returns and destroys our enemy. Anytime your enemy is still above you, you are not saved yet. Give me 2 Thessalonians. Give me 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Give me that. Let's hit that. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3.
In the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2 and then verse 3, let no man deceive you by any means.
It says, let no man deceive you by any means. And this is the problem with our preachers, our pastors, and our leaders. They are deceiving us. This is the reason why we are in mourning right now, because they are deceiving us. They are leading us astray. It says, let no man deceive you by any means. It says, amen. Let no man deceive you by any means. Go ahead.
For that day shall not come.
It says, for that day shall not come. What day are they speaking about? What day is he speaking about? It says, for that day shall not come. The day that he's speaking about is the day that Christ returns. Go ahead.
Except there come a falling away
It
first.
says, except there come a falling away first. What do you have to fall away from? It says, except there come a falling away first. What does that mean? Except there comes a falling away first. That means that we have to fall away from the oppressor's religion. We have to fall away from the oppressor's ways. We have to fall away from all the evils that our oppressors have over us. We have to fall away from Christianity. We have to fall away from Christmas. We have to fall away from celebrating Labor Day. We have to fall away from celebrating Thanksgiving. These are the things that we have to fall away from. As long as we stay tied into these, we are always going to be under the foot of the oppressor. It says, unless there come a falling away first. Fall away from that Christianity. Fall away from being in love with your oppressor and love your own people. Go ahead.
Come. Except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed.
Say that again.
And that man of sin be revealed.
It didn't say, and that devil. It said, and that man. That means there is a man of sin. There is a man. Who is that man of sin? That is the oppressor. That is your oppressor. But a lot of us don't understand that the oppressor is the man of sin. That oppressor is the man that's destroying us. That oppressor is the man that gave us Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, Labor Day, Memorial Day. Think about this, right? They want you to celebrate Memorial Day, but they want you to forget about the 99 million African Americans, so-called African Americans that died in the transatlantic slave trade. They want you to forget about that. They want you to remember the Holocaust of the so-called Jewish man of maybe 6 million, which they say it's not even 6 million people, but they want you to forget about the Native Indians that were destroyed, the over 70,000 Native Indians that were destroyed when they took over this land. They want you to forget about all of your history. You understand? But they want you to remember Memorial Day and Labor Day. They want you to forget about the land that they took from the so-called Hispanics and destroyed over 45 million of them. They want you to forget about your people. But they want you to remember everything about them. They want you to remember 9/11, but they want you to forget about slavery. They want you to forget about slavery so much now they call it the transatlantic migration. Think about this. We are the only people who were brought here by force. The natives were already here. Their land got stolen from them, and they got put on reservations, which are concentration camps. They forced the so-called Hispanics back into the worst parts of Mexico and took their land, which they call in California and Texas and all of that now. You understand what I'm saying? They want you to forget about everything that you are, but they want you to remember everything that they are. You understand what I'm saying? It says, and that man of sin be revealed. This is a man of sin trying to make you forget your history and remember his history. Go ahead.
The son of perdition.
That's the son of perdition. That's the son of evil. This white man is an evil thing. He is an evil doer. Listen, it says, let no man deceive you. Don't let your oppressors deceive you. Say, by any means, for that day shall not come. Listen, as long as we letting these people deceive us, as long as we celebrating Christianity, as long as we celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of those holidays of the oppressor, we will be deceived, and that day shall not come. What day is that? That's that day that Christ will return.
That's right.
Destroy our oppressor.
That's right.
That's what
That's
being
right.
saved is. We are not saved until Christ returns.
Damn right.
Destroy our
Damn
oppressor.
right.
You understand what I'm saying? That's being saved. That's right. You're saved.
That's right.
You know? Let's go to let's pick this up at Ecclesiastes 7 and 7. Ecclesiastes 7 and 7.
Kim, 1 second. All right. Let me put this on. Second. You said the book of Ecclesiastes?
Yeah, book of
7 and 7.
7 and 7.
In the book of Ecclesiastes, 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. Think about oppression, right? Oppression makes anybody mad. Anybody being oppressed becomes mad. Oppression maketh a wise man mad. Think about the people who don't know they're being oppressed. They're not upset at all. They think it's business as usual. They think we need to just pull up our bootstraps and fend for ourselves. A lot of them think when they see these homeless people out in the street, well, they healthy, they need to get up and get a job. But when you know oppression, and when you know what oppression does to a people, oppression maketh a wise man mad. Because we are in these scriptures, the Isupk, Israelite School of University, Universal Practical Knowledge, we know what oppression really does to a people. And this is the reason why we are upset, angry, and mad, because oppression maketh a wise man mad. Go ahead.
And a gift destroyeth the heart.
Hey, listen, a gift destroyeth the heart. This is the reason why you can have a black mayor, black city councilman, black commissioner, black everything, and still be a people being destroyed in the city predominantly so-called African American. Because they will take a gift to suit their own hearts and give up their people to be destroyed. A gift destroyeth the heart. Money destroyeth the heart. Bribery destroyeth the heart. Bribery also destroyeth a people. A gift also destroyeth a people. A gift also destroyeth a people. You understand what I'm saying? This is the reason why we're being so destroyed in our own communities. And we think because we elect black, we elect this, we elect that. The Most High tells us not to elect a people that he did not put over us.
That's right.
Voting does nothing for us. Voting does nothing for the people, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. It has not done anything for us since we began voting. It has not done anything for us since the 60s. It has not done anything since civil rights. It has not done anything for us all the way up until this day, and it will continue to work against us. A gift destroys the heart. The only thing we're doing is self-serving the people that you elected. You serving them. They not serving you. You putting them on there, now they getting hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit over top of you and to deliver you into the oppressor's hands. That's the only thing. Every time you step out there, you just voting for the next person to deliver you into the oppressor's hands. This is why we are destroyed people, because we don't understand the law, statutes, and commandments. We come back to the law, statutes, and commandments under the commanding general, Your Honor, under the Most High, in the Isupk, under the commanding general, Your Honor. This is where we live at. This is how we live. This is how we are a people. You know, this is a family right here. This is not an organization. This is a family. This is flesh of our flesh, bone of our bone. We are kinsmen. We are family. This is how we live. This is what we do. We don't vote and place an oppressor over top of us. The Most High didn't elect them. We don't elect them. We don't vote. Voting gets you nowhere. A lot of us think that we have to vote the lesser of two evils. If you don't vote and you pull yourself out away from, matter of fact, this is gonna be it right here. This is gonna be it right here.
Yeah.
Give me Jeremiah 2:13. I'm gonna get this one early.
All right, the book of Jeremiah, 2 and verse 13. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon.
Jeremiah chapter 2, verse
Salakia, I'm in Isaiah. Salakia. You said Jeremiah 2.
chapter 2, verse 13. I think we broke it.
2 and 13. Salakia, the book of Jeremiah. 2 and verse 13. 1 second, sir. Verse 13. For my people have committed two evils.
It says, for my people have committed two evils. Go ahead. Let's read them evils.
They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters.
It says, they have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters. What is the fountain of living waters? What is the fountain of living waters? That is the word. That's the truth. That's the fountain of living word. The law, statutes, and commandments, the fountain of living water. Go ahead.
And hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water.
It says, hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns. What is a cistern? A cistern is a thing that they carry water in, right? A cistern is a thing that holds water. If your cistern can't hold water, your cistern can't hold truth. What is the fountain of living waters? Water is the truth. If you're in Christianity, you have a cistern with holes in it that can't hold truth. If you in Islam, your cistern has holes in it that can't hold truth. You understand? These are empty ideologies. These are empty faiths. Christianity is an empty faith. Islam is an empty faith. Buddhism is an empty faith. Egyptology is an empty faith. These are faiths that can't hold water. These are broken cisterns. You have to come back into the truth. The law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. This is the thing. This is the cistern that holds water. This is the cistern that holds truth. This is the cistern that has the truth. Get into this Isupk, Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under the commanding General Yahana, and learn what the truth is. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to Priest Officer Kawan Balak.
All right, Salaki. What's going on, Baltimore? Security announcements. We are the Isupk out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yahana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Pay your damn tithes, Negro. Pay your tithes, man, just like you pay your rent, just like you pay your gas and electric. Pay your tithes, man. His brothers and sisters depended on this. Commanding General Yahana ain't no goddamn crap, no dollar. He pays brothers and sisters rent so they can live, man. You selfish. Look, Commanding General Yahana takes care of his people. You can't look at it like how American groups do, or different political groups do. Commanding General Yahana is set apart. He's not of this world, man. You got to look at it differently. Pay your damn tithes, man. You can find this in Numbers 18:21 and Malachi 3:8-10. Means tenth in the Hebrew, and it's pronounced Ma'asherah. 10% of every penny of any increase of the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or the teacher. If you like the way this priest put it down, if everything was the truth, which it was, send in a little something, man. To support Baltimore, to support the priest, to make sure we can keep putting down this truth, man. Putting down this heavy-hitting truth. Do that. It is your responsibility as a black man, as in Israel, as being Israel, as a Hebrew. All right? Upcoming holy congregation. We still going to deal with the Passover. We're still waiting on to get word for that. That's still going to happen. No society is going to stop the Lord's Passover. And that's the goddamn truth. Look, remind Akim and Aquafium to check into social media such as Isupk.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for Isupk events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirts, pants, headband, scarf. Put on all black. You want to join, you want to be a soldier, you want to be a hero, you want to be a patriot.
That's right.
Then join us, man. You understand me? And also, look here. We got to support this truth, man.
That's right.
So you do what you can, man. You do whatever you can to support these brothers and sisters that's out here pushing this truth. That's out here taking the weight. When you take an oath for the Most High, you take the weight, brother. You take the goddamn weight. Even if it's unto death, you and your family take the weight. So don't ever disrespect respect your brothers. Help in any way you can. Support the men of the Lord in the ISUPK, and definitely support Commanding General Yahan. There is a Blackity Black event that's going to happen Sunday in Baltimore. We need all boots on deck. You understand? Everybody watching, everybody supporting, all the priests and prophets we need on deck. So do it. And with that, men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Turn to the teacher, men of Israel, Majim Shabbat. I Majim Brak. Yahba Shinyam Shabbat.
Yahba Shinyam Shabbat.
Yazimata. Class dismissed.
Listen well to what I tell. No going to cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a two-edged sword. With it.
Nobody tell you cry. You know why? Because I never saw you before. But you are a black man like me. No, son. I didn't work something.
My whole life trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow.
She said he was gonna call me and say something to me. He ain't called me and said nothing to